They say some towns are born sleepy and others are forced into silence. Briar Glen was the second kind. A small wood-framed town nestled between fog-covered hills and forgotten highways. The kind of place where strangers don't linger and locals speak in hushed tones, especially when it comes to Widow's Hollow. At the end of a crooked road, hidden by weeping willows and vines that never die, sat a house too beautiful for its own good. 3 stories of aged brick and wood, wrapped in ivy like it had been claimed by time and nature together. It looked like something out of a Gothic painting, majestic, haunting, wrong, and yet it had charm. Enough charm that Grace and Jordan couldn't resist it when they saw the listing. Fixer-upper with character, the ad had said. Cheap too, suspiciously cheap. The locals had a saying, one whispered more like a warning than a rumour. No one stays long in the house at 36 Widow's Hollow. Grace laughed it off when the old gas station clerk muttered it under his breath. Jordan rolled his eyes. Superstition, right? Every small town had its ghost stories. But the moment they pulled into the gravel driveway, the wind died. The birds went quiet, and the trees swayed without sound, like they were watching. The house didn't creak, it breathed. Grace shivered, brushing off the unease. It was just an old house, just a new beginning. Right? The house waited. It always did. 30 years ago, before the paint had dried on the walls, and before any family dared to call 36 Widow's Hollow home, it was just dirt, scaffolding, and secrets. The house was still a skeleton then. Bare beams, cracked cement, a hollow shell rising from the ground like a tomb waiting to be sealed. Anna wasn't supposed to be there. She had taken a wrong turn walking home from her friend's place, cutting through the construction site as a shortcut. It was late, too late for a girl alone in a place like that. But she was tough, smart. She wasn't afraid of a half-built house or the shadows it cast. She didn't know the builder was still there. Ralph Gorman wasn't the kind of man you crossed. Gruff, sharp-tempered, and drowning in debt, he was under pressure to finish the project before the bank took everything. Delays meant questions. Questions meant problems. And Anna asked the wrong one. Maybe she saw something she shouldn't have. Maybe she just startled him. Maybe he meant to scare her, not kill her. Or maybe he really didn't care. What's certain is that Anna never made it home. Ralph panicked. He paced. He cursed. Then he acted. Fast, dirty, desperate. He buried her beneath the foundation, between layers of rebar and poured concrete. No coffin, no marker, just silence and cement. By morning the floor was set. The crew came in, clueless, and carried on building like nothing happened. She became a name on a missing person flyer. A face fading from telephone poles. Another girl the world forgot. But the house didn't. As the years passed, families came and went. Some stayed a few months, others only weeks. Strange noises, cold spots, nightmares, things moving, always the same, always unexplained. The townsfolk whispered, but no one dared to dig deeper. And Ralph? He grew older, meaner, quieter. He never returned to Widow's Hollow after the build was complete, drank himself into oblivion. Died alone in a motel room the year the foundation cracked for the first time. No one ever connected the dots. No one, until Grace. Grace and Jordan had always dreamed of a place they could call their own. A home where they could start fresh, paint the walls any colour they liked, dance barefoot in the kitchen, maybe even start a family. So when the house on Widow's Hollow popped up for a fraction of what it should have cost, they thought it was fate. The morning they moved in, the sky was overcast, thick clouds hanging low like a bad omen trying to pass as weather. Grace brushed it off with a laugh. Moody skies for a moody house, she joked, snapping a selfie in front of the crooked iron gate. Jordan rolled his eyes, wrestling with a box labelled fragile, half smiling, half struggling. The house looked even more imposing up close, beautiful, but brooding. Its tall, narrow windows felt like eyes, watching, judging. The porch groaned under their steps as they entered, but it was theirs, and that was all that mattered. Until the stairs started, neighbours watched them unload boxes with tight smiles and narrowed eyes. An old man with a weathered face and a limp stopped mid-walk to just stare. Later, as Jordan ran to grab coffee, Grace stayed behind to unpack. The screen door creaked open behind her and she turned to see a woman, early 60s, grey braid, serious eyes. "You seem like nice people," the woman said softly, "but you should have picked anywhere but here." Grace blinked. "Excuse me." The woman didn't repeat herself. She just gave a tight smile, turned and walked off, slow, steady, like she'd delivered a funeral notice. Grace stood frozen in the doorway, her hands still wrapped around a box of dishes. She wanted to laugh, but something in the air wouldn't let her. It started small, so small that Grace almost convinced herself it was just the chaos of moving. A box that wasn't where she left it, keys vanishing from the hook and turning up in the freezer. The kind of things that make you question your memory more than your reality. But then, the doors began to slam. Not from wind, not from drafts. These were full-bodied slams, loud, deliberate, like someone was angry. They echoed through the house at 3 a.m., jolting Grace awake while Jordan slept like the dead beside her. "Old house," he mumbled when she shook him. "Wood contracts, air pressure. You've been watching too many ghost videos." Maybe, but Wood didn't whisper. The first time she heard it, she was in the kitchen. The sound floated up from the vent below the sink, soft like someone murmuring behind a locked door. She crouched to listen, heart thudding. The words were muffled, but the tone was unmistakable, pleading, desperate. A woman's voice. She backed away slowly, not taking her eyes off the vent. She didn't tell Jordan, not yet. He already thought she was stressed, overwhelmed. He kept reassuring her, hugging her a little too tightly, like he was trying to squeeze the fear out of her. But the house knew. And it wasn't trying to be subtle. Then came the crack. In the far corner of the basement, a jagged fracture split the concrete floor, dark and hair-thin, like a wound. Grace pointed it out to Jordan and he patched it the next day, but by morning it was back. Wider, deeper. Every time they fixed it, it returned, angrier than before. Grace started avoiding the basement altogether, but something told her that crack wasn't just in the floor. It was a mouth, and it was trying to speak. The dreams came without warning, deep, suffocating things that clung to Grace even after she woke. They always started the same. Darkness pressing in on all sides, the sound of muffled sobs, and a woman's voice, hoarse and desperate, screaming beneath concrete. "I'm not supposed to be here." In the dream, Grace would see hands clawing at stone, nails broken, skin torn, a face contorted in agony, mouth wide, screaming silently just beneath the surface. The worst part wasn't the fear, it was the helplessness. Grace could never reach her. She could only watch. The first time she woke, she was gasping, drenched in sweat. But what made her heart stop wasn't the dream. It was the dirt. Smears of it were on her arms, under her nails, even across her legs. But the bed was clean. Jordan was snoring beside her, undisturbed. She sat up, breath ragged, staring at her hands as if they belonged to someone else. Night after night, the dreams grew more vivid, more real. She stopped telling Jordan. What could she even say? "Hey babe, I think I'm sleep digging in our haunted basement." But the night it truly turned was the night she woke up standing in the basement, barefoot. Her toes were caked in mud, her nightgown clinging with dampness, and on the concrete floor behind her a trail of muddy footprints, all leading to the crack. Grace didn't scream. She couldn't, because the whisper came again, soft and close. "Don't leave me here." And she wasn't sure if it was the dream or herself. Grace couldn't ignore it anymore. The dreams, the voices, the dirt under her nails, it was all too specific, too real. And it wasn't just sleepwalking. It was like something, or someone, was trying to lead her somewhere. So she started digging, but not in the basement. Not yet. She turned to the internet, then the town library, then the dusty records at City Hall. She didn't even know exactly what she was looking for until she found it. An article from 1994, faded, yellowed, scanned into a forgotten archive. Local girl still missing. Ana Morales, 19, disappeared near construction site. Her stomach dropped. The picture was grainy, but the face was familiar. Too familiar. It was the same woman from her dreams, the same wide eyes, the same silent scream. She kept reading. Ana had been walking home late, seen last near the construction of a new house. The builder, Ralph Gorman, had been questioned but never charged. No evidence, they said. No body. He died 15 years later. Natural causes, alone, disgraced by financial ruin. The house was completed just 2 weeks after Ana vanished. No mention of any further investigation, no follow-up, just a girl lost to time. Grace stared at the screen, numb. Her coffee had gone cold. Her hands were shaking. This wasn't coincidence. It couldn't be. The crack in the basement, the dreams, the voice. Ana wasn't missing. She wasn't lost. She was buried. Grace's breath caught in her throat as the realization sank in. Ana was underneath them, beneath the concrete, the walls, the floors. And she was still trying to be found. Grace had packed a bag, just one. She didn't need much, just her phone, her wallet, and the car keys. She didn't even wake Jordan. She just needed to leave, breathe, think, anything but stay in that house another second. She stepped out the front door, heart pounding, cold air biting at her skin. She didn't look back, but the moment she reached the gate and opened it, she blinked and found herself back inside, standing in the hallway, still holding the bag. Door shut behind her. She stared at it, breathing hard. Had she blacked out? Had she even left? She tried again, and again. But every time it was the same. Step outside, blink, and she was right back where she started. The house wasn't letting her leave. When she finally told Jordan, he didn't laugh. Not this time. Because the night before, he'd gone into the basement to check the breaker. Lights had been flickering again, and in the corner, right above the crack, he saw her. A woman, pale, still, just watching him. But when he turned on the flashlight, she was gone. He didn't say ghost. He didn't have to. Grace just whispered, "She's not done with us yet." It happened just after midnight. Grace had been lying awake, eyes fixed on the ceiling, heart thudding in that strange rhythm of fear and exhaustion. The air felt thick, electric, like the world was holding its breath. Then she saw her. At the foot of the bed, barely illuminated by the moonlight leaking through the curtains, stood Ana, pale, fragile. Her eyes were hollow, her skin dusted in grey, like she had been pulled from the grave and hadn't fully returned. Grace couldn't scream, couldn't move. Ana didn't speak, but slowly, so slowly, she raised a trembling hand and dragged her finger across the wall. The words formed in the dust like a whisper etched in shadow. "I was never meant to be here." Tears filled Grace's eyes. Her body shook, and then came the images, flashes. She saw Ana being chased through the darkened sight. She felt her panic, her screams swallowed by the night. She saw the struggle, the concrete, the silence, the burial. Grace gasped, gripping the sheets as if they could anchor her to reality. Ana turned to her, eyes pleading, not with words, but with unbearable sorrow. "Help me." And then, as quickly as she appeared, she was gone. Grace couldn't wait any longer. The message on the wall, the visions, the way the house breathed around her, Ana wasn't just calling, she was begging. Grace grabbed a crowbar and a hammer and headed for the basement. Barefoot, hair still damp from sweat and tears. The crack was wider now, like the house had opened its mouth. She knelt beside it, hands trembling, and began to dig. The concrete groaned beneath each blow. As chunks broke away, the temperature dropped, sharp and sudden, like plunging into ice water. Whispers rose from below, slithering around her like wind, hissing her name. Then the lights shattered. Every bulb in the basement burst in unison, plunging her into darkness. Jordan shouted from the stairs, "Grace!" But before he could reach her, something invisible slammed into him. His body flew across the room, hitting the wall with a sickening crack. "Jordan!" she screamed, but there was no time. The whispers turned to full screams, anguished, furious. Grace kept digging, sobbing, whispering apologies she didn't understand. And then, thunk. Her hammer struck something that didn't sound like stone, not metal, not wood. It was softer. She brushed away the dirt with shaking fingers, and there, under the debris, was a piece of bone. Grace leaned closer, heart pounding as she reached for the bone, only for the dirt beneath it to shift, then burst. A full hand shot out of the earth, pale and alive, fingers clamping around her wrist with inhuman strength. She gasped, trying to pull away, but the grip tightened. The basement lights flickered once, then died, plunging everything into black. From the darkness, a voice whispered, not Anna's, deeper, wrong. Grace screamed, and then silence. The screen cuts to black, a heartbeat, then the final chilling words. But what came out wasn't Anna. To be continued. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you'll be the first to know when part 2 drops. You won't want to miss what happens next.